Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 16th episode of Tech Talks with Santosh. And today we have a really special guest. I'm a huge fan of Wassim, so I've been following him from last 2 years. I think by the time I actually started using Twitter. I think he was one of them I used to follow because I
Oh,
was really inspired by
thank you
all
so
his
much.
work. So, and we are lucky to have Wasim today. I'm sure most of you know Wasim. He know it's no introduction. You
I
might have
don't think
seen
so.
him. You might have. I know you. Everyone might have seen you talking in some conferences, and you are pretty much
Yeah.
active in open source. And but let me just introduce Wasim. So Wasim is a senior developer advocate at Microsoft, and he keeps creating tools. I have seen a lot of tools being created by Wasim, and this is what he loves to do. And you will also find a lot of experiments which I really like. I mean, the last experiment
Yeah.
it was mind controlled coffee maker, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yeah.
So that's fun. I hope I have that much time to actually do it. And he's long time Angular contributor. So this is how I started following him because I was pretty much interested into contributing to Angular, and I wanted to know who is already doing it, right? And of course,
Yeah.
that's how I started following Wasim. And he's also creator of a few tools. There are a few. Which is like xlayers.dev. I think most of developers are aware of it in case you are following Angular community. Then ngx.tools. This is pretty helpful website in case you want to see list of all schematics and builders. You can just go to ngx.tools. Hexa.run is another tool which is created by Wassim, async.await.xyz, and a lot of stuffs he keeps
Yeah.
on.
The last one was just an experiment. People
Ah,
really liked the async await animation, and then I just like
uh-huh.
put the video and created the domain name. Nothing fancy there.
Okay, and he's also a GD for Angular and ambassador for Auth. So that's impressive profile you have, Asim. I'm glad to have you here. Actually,
Thank you so much for inviting me, Santosh. I was really looking forward to being in your show one day.
wow, that's a great compliment.
I made
Thanks a
it.
lot. Okay, so today we are going to discuss about a topic which I really love because I'm sure if you follow me on Twitter or you might have seen my profile, I keep talking about developer advocate, right? I mean, I love this role because of the people like Wasim, right? So there are developers like Wasim, and there are many more developer advocates who really puts their energy into the community, and I'm really inspired, and I want to actually be like Wasim one day and working as a developer advocate. So, Wasim, so first question: what is developer advocate?
Actually, that's a $1 million question. Because you're gonna have like different answers depending on different people. But I mean, I think I'm trying to really understand this role since I've been in this kind of role since like 3 years ago, I think, for the last
Okay.
3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, to me, a developer advocate is most of all is the developer's friend. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a developer advocate, someone who's a DA. I would say DA is much simpler to say. A
Mm-hmm.
DA is someone who is putting developers' needs in their like top priority
Mm-hmm.
and focusing on helping the community, helping developers be successful with tools in general or a particular tool. Like if you're working for a company, then you would be probably focusing on that platform or that tool, and then your mission would be to make your audience who are developers be successful and uh, you know enjoy like using the tool.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
of course, so that's the way you explained is, of course, they are responsible for like the tools which maybe your organization wants to promote. So, what is your day-to-day activity is like? So, what are the things which a developer advocate has to do?
So in my case, I mean, I do a lot of stuff in here at Microsoft, and so I'm part of the Azure organization. And inside Azure, we have different cloud developer advocates with different specialties. So my specialty is JavaScript. So we have like different technologies, and my audience is JavaScript, and that's
Oh,
why actually mainly why I joined Microsoft because
oh.
I'm a big fan of JavaScript. That's my first language, and ever since, like we've been using it for years and years now. And so my day-to-day job would be like split into many different activities. This could be like creating content. That was actually most developer advocates for in like in many different companies do. They create content, they create demo apps, they create proof of concept, they create resources for developers to read and to understand the tool they are using. So I do that, and I also basically trying to bridge actually this this gap that exists between the developer community and the engineers and the teams building Azure services internally at Microsoft. So my role is to listen to the community, to the JavaScript community, understand their needs, understand their problems, their issues. I mean, their technical problems, obviously, their issues. How like what are the things that are missing? Um, Either in terms of Azure, because that's what I'm paid for, or in general, like in JavaScript, like how they're using a particular SDK, or how they would be using a particular feature, things like that, and then gather all this feedback, and then share it back with the internal folks here at Microsoft. Uh, actually basically try to improve the products based on this feedback. So eventually those developers can enjoy like the experience using these tools. So this is also like one hat I have, like bridging this gap. Um, and yeah, I mean, obviously, when I talked about the content initially, the content could be like creating blog posts, articles, videos, going to conferences, doing meetups, all this kind of content. It could be like written or speaking or videos or whatever. Um, One other thing also I do here at Microsoft is to really advocate internally for JavaScript developers.
Oh.
Um, in terms of we try tools internally, and then I give my feedback based on how would the JavaScript community use that particular tool, and then try to work with the engineering team, with the product team, to try to improve these tools before they get published, before they get released. So we do this a lot. So we go through user journeys, and we try a particular scenario, and then myself as a JavaScript developer, I would give my feedback and say, okay, this part of the product is not clear, or this API in the JavaScript SDK is not really how a JavaScript developer would use it. So yeah, we will work, collaborate with the engineers to in order to improve that aspect of the project. Um, and yeah, and a small chunk of my time is also spent on creating stuff like the coffee machine you're talking about, and other IoT projects. And now, like, I'm super fortunate to be doing this part of my time, because I mean, that's what I love do for fun as well, and also like create stuff even if it's not really related to my work. I'm fortunate enough to be able to have the support of my employer to do that as well, just for the sake of helping developers, like journaling.
That's really great.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's basically what I do, like many different activities, and that's mainly like the things I can think about. But then yeah, I'm also like I can also like work with developers, try to help them or mentor them. like in terms like of like programming or open source or this kind of stuff. Um, yeah, that's all I think.
You do lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so small question here. So related to as you mentioned, so your job involves actually getting back to the developers, collecting the inputs and collecting the feedbacks.
Yeah.
Now it's Corona time, so you don't go to conferences. So how you
Yeah.
are able to manage that in such times? So how you are able to collect the feedbacks?
Well, I mean, I think as everybody else, like I'm using online resources to reach out to the community. Could be like Twitter, could be like any blogging platform. Still doing like online conferences, online meetups, and shows like yours as well. Um, and I'm really fortunate as well because like I've been opening my DMs on Twitter, so I get a lot of questions from from different people. I mean, it could be like about Angular because most of folks following me about Angular, but also I get questions about like work related for Azure and for some services, but also anything about monitoring, about question about DIY project I'm working on. So yeah, Twitter has been a really great tool for me at least in terms of like keeping this communication channel with the community. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I'll try to go wherever the developers are. So most of my network, my friends are on Twitter. So I'm in like investing heavily on Twitter right now. That's why you see me tweeting all the time.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, yeah, and I also participate in events organized by Microsoft as well. Um, but yeah, mostly, I mean, there is no other other ways, other than the internet and the online conferences and events. So
Yeah. That's cool. I mean, good thing is actually people most of the conferences going online, so you can meet most of the developers even you don't meet them physically, which everyone misses nowadays.
yeah, that's really the bad part actually about this situation.
And one thing you mentioned, you have your DM open, and I would say thanks a lot for doing that, because, of course, everyone needs help, and I have seen whenever even I know I have pinged you even in night whenever I'm not feeling well or I want to
Yeah,
discuss something. So thanks a lot for doing that. I'm sure you are helping a lot of developers, and
you're welcome.
whenever someone needs help.
You're
So
welcome. And I want also to apologize for for the other folks who are waiting responses from me. I'll do my best to give you responses, and just like be patient, please.
cool. Okay, so let's take next question because this is something. So when I was discussing this advocate role, right? So with my friends, and then I said, okay, this. I actually tweeted once that I'll be working hard this year to actually get my dream job. So people ask me, okay, what is your dream job and what is your dream company to work for? So I said, okay, I want to work with some role where I can help developers. And then you replied that, okay, this is what I do. And I discussed. Then I think we went on to your DM, and then we discussed about, okay, this is developer advocates. This is what you do. And then I was really got interested into that. And I said to my friends, okay, I want to be developer advocate. And the answer was, why you want to be in sales? So a lot of developers think that developer advocate job is kind of sales. So is it anyways related with sales?
um, so not my role, but I understand that this kind of role could be associated with with marketing, with sales, because that's what some companies are using that role for. Probably, I don't know the reason exactly, but since this is like not like really defined role like in our industry, so anyone can like use it like however they want, and that's fine. Um, however, my role is not sale, because like we have great sales at Microsoft and great marketing folks at Microsoft, and this is, I mean, these are not my skills. I'm really bad at sales and like marketing as well. Um, but I mean, this role is really a technical role, because I mean, obviously your audience, they are technical, they are developers like you, so you need to have the same language, you need to have the same, you know, technical knowledge, technical background, in order to listen to them, to exchange with them, like, you know, have some meaningful technical discussions, and also understand their problems, because you're a developer and they are also developers, so you kind of have the same problems, obviously. So
Yeah.
you need to have this kind of technical skills. So that's why I think like most of developer advocates have engineering background. In background, like they still obviously they're still doing engineering, but not, this is not like 100% of their time, of our time. Like we're not working on a specific project all the time. We do help, we do like provide either feedback or even contribute to our internal tools, like, you know, writing code. But this is not what we're asked to do.
Okay.
So so yeah, I do understand that some companies are using developer advocates to as like as a sales or marketing position. But at least at Microsoft, this is not the case. We
Okay.
have different teams for different roles, and our organization are mainly engineering focused, with engineering background, and targeting engineers and developers.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
and that's what I do.
thanks for answering that.
Yeah,
So we have few questions in chat. Let's take those.
cool.
We have a question from Siddharth. So he's asking how developer advocate is different from community manager. Good question.
Hmm. I'm not really familiar with the community manager role, but I would guess that a community manager is probably someone who engage with the community over, you know, different social media platforms. Um, it's really a tough question because I don't really know that role, and I don't know like anyone in my, you know, my network who's in that position.
Oh, okay.
Um, but what I know, I know what's a developer advocate, and I think that probably the technical part of the developer advocacy is probably missing from community managers. And I'm really sorry if if I'm wrong about that for people who are community managers. But I see community manager roles as, you know, folks who are engaging with a community, not particularly on a technical aspect, you know, just like try and engage with with the community, keep them, you know, keep them loving your brand, engaging with your brand, all the stuff. Mostly probably in a marketing manner, you know, but probably less in a technical manner. So that, to me, that's the main difference. Is like being able to, you know, understand and like speak the same language with the developers is a skill that's missing from a community manager. And probably like I know like most, some probably like few or some developer advocates are not even on social media, you know, but they probably like travel to conferences, do meet like events and all that stuff, and few of them are less active on the social media. And like I at least I know like two or three of them. So that
That's
also would be another difference. Because I said I use Twitter a lot because that's my main platform, but other folks would probably use different media or none at all. They're the like, you know, events events oriented. Like they go to events and they go to, or even like create content or record videos or do like, or Twitch streams, for instance. Um, but again, that's my knowledge. I'm sorry about, you know, if I'm wrong about the community manager role.
yeah. Thanks for answering that. So Praveen has another question. What is the difference between developer advocate and consultant?
That's funny because in my previous company, actually, I was like, I was working at an IT company, so who hire consultants. So they work for clients. They
Right.
work on projects for clients. And I joined that company, but I told them I want to be a developer advocate. So I had basically like to create my own role. And they're like, I was fortunate enough to like they allowed me to do so. So I
Oh,
was half developer advocate and half consultant. So
oh.
what I mean by that, like I had like literally I had like 3 days doing
Mhm.
consultant, so going at the client's team and like working with them, like producing code and shipping features to production. And the other 2 days of the week, like doing, preparing for events, creating my slides, preparing my demos and all the stuff, mainly around Angular because I was the Angular person there. So to me, to answer your question, a developer advocate doesn't work for a client. Um, the audience, again, the audience of a developer advocate is the developer community as a whole, not one particular person or client. I mean, of course, at some point, like at one point of a time, I might be working with a client, helping them with a feature, like with with a problem they're having, let's say with Azure, with some services with Azure, or listen to them because they want some features that are missing. Um, but that's all. I'm not going to work for a week with them because that's what our team do. Like we have other role at Microsoft who are specialized in this kind of scenarios, and they're doing awesome job. But that's not what we are asked for here at Microsoft, and I don't think that's really the purpose of a developer advocate. But that's a great question because actually there are some similarities between the two roles, and a consultant, for instance, uh, is I mean they're an engineer, like full time engineers, so they work and like shipping features and producing code and solving problems. But most of them actually, and I knew some of my friends like who are still consultant, they are not into going to events, like giving talks, sharing with the community. They don't like this kind of activities. They prefer like writing code, fixing problems, and all stuff.
Oh, okay.
So that would be the
So,
main difference.
oh, that's cool. So I was speaking to one of my friend. You know him, I think, as well, Sajitaran, who works for Microsoft. So I was. He also knows, right? So I'm interested into this developer advocate role. So he actually sent me a link and said, "Dude, you can apply for this role. This is developer advocate role." And I was like, "Okay," but I have started working as a consultant. So he was like, "That's good because I think that will help." So is it the
Yeah.
reality that okay, working as a consultant helps you to be prepared for this role?
I mean, yeah, if I understand you well, when it says it help, it means that the more experience you have with fixing issues, shipping features, building products and apps and tools and all that stuff, having experience with engineering, uh,
Mm-hmm.
better developer advocate you would be, because you would know like more, have more experience with problem solving, and also when it's time for you to give feedback about a particular product internally at your company, you would be more like efficient, if I would say that, because you have experience, with how I don't know how probably like implementing some particular feature that would
Okay.
require some cloud services, or how to architecture, a particular piece of product. All of this kind of experience that I'm talking about. I mean,
Okay.
this is part of engineering, obviously. So could be doing it as a consultant or doing it as a like employee at the startup, like engineer at the startup, or at a big corp. That doesn't matter, as long as you have like experience with engineering.
Ah, that's
Yeah, technical stuff,
okay.
or a
So Avinash
freelance.
has
I
a
forgot
question.
freelance. Excuse me.
Oh, yeah.
We could also do freelance.
Yeah. So Avinash has this question: what are the responsibility of developer advocate? I think we discussed about this. Apart from engaging with developer, collecting feedback, what happened to feedback after collecting?
Feedback. What happened to feedback after collecting? So
Once you gave it to, I think, engineering team. Yeah.
yeah, so I'll answer the last question. So what happened to feedback? So the feedback, I mean, at least for us, like for our team here at Microsoft, the feedback we have tools where we log these feedbacks. Like we have like GitHub on some GitHub projects, or we have our internal, we use DevOps, Azure DevOps to log some items there. So we as a team, as a cloud developer advocates here at Microsoft, we know to whom we should talk for instance. So if you tell me, oh, okay, I have an issue with Azure Functions, so I know who's responsible for Azure Functions internally, and I know which dashboard inside our DevOps boards where I should go. So I go there and like create like a really literally I create an issue there. So this issue would get triaged by the engineer team at some point, depending on their planning, depending on their roadmap. But I mean, they're taking this really seriously, and once the issue get triaged, eventually it get fixed, or at least I could get back. They can get back to me with other feedback, or things how to probably solve that particular issue. Or and when it comes to feature requests, so the same workflow. I would log those feature requests in our board, and then um, some of the feature might eventually land on that particular product. Again, depending on the team's roadmap and priorities.
Okay.
So yeah, feedback eventually would land on the team's dashboard at some point, and they would see it. Other than that, I mean, if I already have the answer, I don't even try to bother the team with this. I would probably point the person to our documentations or our learn modules, or even like if it's because I also get questions not related to Azure, so I would probably point the person to an article about Angular written by you, Santosh, or by other folks from the community, or any helpful resources, for them. Or if I know the answer, I would just give them the answer. And even sometimes, and I did it a couple of times, I even like schedule a call with those folks and like do one-on-one video call with them. And, try to either like debug their problem or either have a chat about their issue. So yeah, so that's what happens to the feedback. By the way,
That's cool.
um,
It's
and for
more.
other like,
Sorry.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
I don't know. I was supposed to move on. Next question. You have anything else to share? Looks like, yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at the first one, the first part of the question. What are the responsibilities of a DA? So, um, we mentioned all the things that I personally do, but that like where most of us are in the same case here at Microsoft, at our team, we create the same content, we do the same activities. But also, there are things that we can do is help again the product team, the engineers here on Azure to either like work on a feature or like implement some features. This could happen, and I mean it's done in terms of like collaboration with other folks. And to give you an example, we have this service coming soon, this Azure Static Web Apps, which is still in preview right now. So at some point, I identified like a missing piece on the workflow, which is the developer experience, the local developer experience. So I went ahead, I created a tool which now is working somehow as an emulator, like a local development emulator for on your machine for Azure Static Web Apps. And this tool actually, which started as an open source tool done on my free time, it's actually would be merged with the official Azure Static Web Apps ecosystem, and would be shipped as an official maintained tool. So again, that's again an example of things that our team can do to help developers. I mean, I did this tool because I found some issues, related to the my experience with Azure Static Web Apps, because I was missing something on my local machine. So I went ahead and built it, shared it on or like as an open source project. That's what I do all the time for free in the open source. And then like actually the team liked it and then told me, okay, can we use it like on as an official tool? I said, yeah, sure, do it. That's what it's for. So again, so that's that's the little part of engineering part. In addition to the all the community activities that a developer advocate can do.
Okay, so the next question is related to DevRel. I have seen a lot of folks around in the community. They also do developer relations. What is developer relation and
Yeah,
developer?
that's that's a great question also. So again, that's my opinion. So to me, the DevRel actually is the biggest, the bigger part of the cloud advocacy. So you have like DevRel, and inside DevRel you have you have developer advocacy. Excuse me.
Mhm.
So as I understand it, the role of a someone who is a DevRel is could be all the things that we mentioned about developer advocacy, but also other stuff, other things like organizing conferences, events, like um, like sponsoring events, doing marketing campaign or something related to marketing campaign now to promote some product or some events as well. So they do like more actually, like so. Let's say like we are as developer advocate, we are focusing on the engineering part, if I may say. Um, but the DevRel could be like more than that. They could do also engineer, but not limited to that. Like they um, they would go to sponsor conferences, do like even some of them can also give talks and present at conferences. So that's actually how I see DevRel, or at least that's how DevRel works in our team. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm still still learning more stuff about DevRel. But I mean, again, even like the developer advocacy responsibilities and role are so like infinite. So I'm still like trying to figure out all the stuff. Yeah, that's my definition, of the difference between the two words.
So next question, right? I mean, this is one question I think many would be interested in, including me. And Shubham has also similar question. I mean, so how to prepare for this role? So how to be a
Um,
developer?
well, I would say you would probably need a couple of skills. So soft skills, but also hard skills, like So let's start with the hard skill, like technical skills. Those are the most obvious things, to explain. So you need experience. You need engineering experience, like have background in engineering or working on project consultancy, anything that's technical. Actually, you need to understand. Um, again, be able to engage with the developer audience, and talk the same language, and
Mhm.
preferably if you are proficient in the same technology. Like I'm like I like JavaScript. I think I
Mhm.
understand JavaScript. So it's easy for me to talk to the JavaScript audience. For instance, let's say I have zero experience with .NET, so I'm unable to talk with .NET folks. But luckily, we have other I have other team members who are experts in .NET, so their audience would be .NET, and mine would be JavaScript, for instance. So yeah, you need to be able to talk the same language, and so this would be like, I think, to me, the only technical skill that you would have. But then the more experience you have, you could be like engineer or engineer manager, or this kind of role related to engineering.
Mhm.
It would be like more than enough. But again, this can be learned if even if you're not you don't have experience right now. Um, these could be easily learned. Take some times, but eventually, um, you would be able to acquire those technical skills. Um, in addition to those skills, I would say you probably need empathy. You need to understand how other developers um, are experiencing some tools. Let's say if you're a developer advocate for a particular tool, because JavaScript is really a wide audience. Let's say again Azure Functions. That's the one I'm trying like focusing right now on. Um, you need to be able to understand how the developer would use this particular tool. So um, try to understand their feelings, try to understand their frustration, this kind of stuff. Um, and this again, I think this could be easily done if you're also a developer yourself. So you would experience the same feeling, I would say. But also, yeah, try to understand them. Try to reach out to them, ask them questions. Try to understand the context of their problem or their issues, all this kind of stuff. So empathy is really, really great, important skill as well. To be honest, I don't know if you can learn empathy. That's a serious question. Um, to me, I think, I mean, you could probably like practice your empathy. Yeah, probably like follow some workshop or something like that to try at least, to have some bits of empathy or not work on that on that. There's also passion. You need to be passionate about what you're doing. And to be honest, again, I'm saying this just because I'm passionate about what I do. I don't think that's a requirement, to be honest, for this role. But if you're passionate about what you're doing, about helping others, about lifting others, helping them grow and helping them be successful, this would again make you a great developer advocate. I would say more generally, it would make you a great person as well. um, no, even outside of work. So yeah, having some technical knowledge, be passionate, empathy, and what else? Yeah, and also like willing to share your knowledge, willing to help others. And I'm saying this because again, I know some engineers who are like really really talented and really expert in their field, but they really don't care about sharing their knowledge, whatever, which is also fine. That's why we're here. So so that's why this particular role, this developer advocacy role, it's not for everyone. To be honest, it's like remote work. It's different. Some people can handle remote working, others they can't, and that's totally fine. So yeah, I would say that those to me are the most important skills to have. I would say like the technical stuff, the technical knowledge, all the experience you have, plus some empathy, some passion, and a love for sharing. And if you already have actually those those skills, I would say right now, even if you're not paid to be a developer advocate, you are probably a developer advocate, by your own. You don't need like a job description, or you don't need a written position or a role at a company. I mean, yeah, you could proclaim yourself to be a developer advocate even if you're unemployed. Why? Well, because you're passionate about what you're doing, you're sharing with others your knowledge, you are you have the technical knowledge, obviously, as well. The only difference is that you're not paid to to do that, And to be honest, I mean, let's make it that way. That's how I see GDEs and MVPs. To be honest, like we as GDEs and other MVPs, like they're sharing their passion about Angular, about TypeScript, about Android, about I don't know, about the platform or the technology they love, sharing it with others for free. I mean, no one pay you to go and talk about Angular. You're doing it because you love Angular, you love the Angular and community, and you want to share and you want to help other be successful with Angular and grow and learn and just enjoy basically using Angular. And at the same time, I mean, obviously Google have some amazing people who are doing that job and they're paid for, and you're also doing the same thing, but you're not just you're not Google employee. You're not paid by Google or by Microsoft. Uh, does this make you a developer advocate or not? That's the question. I would say yes, it does make you a developer advocate, uh, but like a volunteering developer advocate.
But it can help you, right? I mean, in case you are looking for a role in future for as a developer advocate, I think having GD or MVP title can help you probably.
Yeah, because actually, GD MVP they have the same requirement, the same skills that are
Mhm.
required for developer advocates.
Ah,
You're
okay.
like engaging with the community, like being yourself a developer. That's the first requirement, and then having the skills to communicate and to engage with a particular community, and then, all the passion, the empathy.
Yeah.
But again, that's not required, to be honest. And yeah, love for sharing. So I happen to give interviews for GDA candidate as well, and this
Hmm.
part actually is something that I highly focus on in terms of questions and everything. I try to understand. So that's why the first question I ask for someone who wants to be GDE, why do you want to become a GDE? And depending on, their answer,
Great.
the discussion could be different.
Yeah. Thanks. Great. So we'll come to last question, and then probably after that we'll take few questions from chat. So if let's say any organization, let's say Microsoft or Google, has to hire a developer advocate, what are the qualities they will be looking for?
Um, you say here at Microsoft?
Or anywhere, right? So it can be any organization, large
Oh,
organizations.
well, I mean that would depend on on what the team is looking for. I mean I can't speak for other companies, obviously, uh,
Mm-hmm.
but for our team, um, so the first requirement would be someone who has an engineer background. I mean that's a requirement. That's even in the job description. You
Mm-hmm.
need to have some X years of experience in engineering,
Okay.
and also know some, if it's, for instance, if it's for my team, not for JavaScript team, so then obviously you need to know JavaScript. That's another requirement. But these all are technical, and I think other soft skills would be communication. Have to try to again find the right words to use when you are communicating your ideas and your feedback, and even like when you're presenting, um,
Mm-hmm.
this kind of skills. There are other skills like related skills like writing, like
Mm-hmm.
have some writing skills, basically.
Okay. Yeah, like
um,
technical box or maybe.
yeah, I can find the right term, but it's basically that it's that. And then I would say that's all, at least for me. I need to go and check the job description. I might be forgetting some other criteria, like requirements. Um, but actually, that's, I mean, I can say it because that's one of the reasons that I accepted the job here at Microsoft is knowing Azure wasn't a requirement, and I
Oh.
didn't know Azure. Like literally, I was a GD in GCP. That tells you a lot. So I was using GCP a lot and Firebase and all those great services.
Mm-hmm.
But then, yeah, when I got a chance to apply for this role, I was told, like, knowing JavaScript is enough, because
No.
I mean, and this alone told me a lot of things about my team, which I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know back then. It's that my team wasn't looking for someone to sell Azure to developers. That's not what we do. My team was hiring someone who understands JavaScript and who understands the JavaScript community, which I happen to have, luckily. And yeah, that wasn't why I immediately say, okay, let's give it a chance.
Oh.
So that's why. I mean, of course, if you know Azure, that would be perfect. But
Mm-hmm.
in our team, that's not a requirement because our they I can share. I think I can share it publicly with you. Our mantra here, like for our team on cloud advocacy, is help first.
Oh.
Help first. We're not here to sell products or sell so I mean, of course, I would help you, and if I mean, if we have some tools or some services on Azure that would help you, I would suggest you that, and you're free to use them or not. But I won't like send you tons of emails. Hey, can you try this service? We have a great service. That's a great. That's not my role. To be honest.
Cool.
So yeah, I think that's all for the some of the requirements, and then of course there probably be more, and depending on the team who's hiring, depending on the manager who's hiring. But that's basically like having some technical background and some soft skills like empathy, passion, communication skills, all stuff. This would probably be 90% of all job offers for developer advocates, from like probably, yeah, lots of companies.
Oh,
And
cool.
that's why
So,
also during the interview, ask the right questions. Ask your interviewer the right questions about
okay.
how they define, how their company define this role, the cloud advocate role. Um, and that's what all the interviews are for. Like, you're also there to ask questions, not only to answer
Mm-hmm.
questions.
Yeah. Agree.
Uh, yeah.
Okay. So let's take a last question from Gaurav. So, how good a developer advocate has to be? I think he should be super sound and geeky. I think.
No, 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 no. Um, how good? I mean, I don't think we can define this because, again, if you're comfortable with your technical skills, you know, in a particular technology or a community, that's a plus. If you're comfortable talking with people in front of folks, giving talks wherever, that's okay. That's great. If you're comfortable writing your ideas and sharing your ideas, as in terms of blog posts and art and technical articles, that's great. um you if you I mean, I don't know, if you like to disassemble your coffee machine and understand how it works, all that stuff, that's not a requirement at all. That's called passion. That's because you are passionate, and it could probably help you in your role, but that's not what you're asked to do. You are asked to like listen to developers and help them be successful. That's it. You choose the right medium. If you're good at giving, like, recording videos and like doing streams, all that stuff, do it. If you like hate writing blog posts wherever, that shouldn't be a problem, to be honest. um I mean, I can tell you, I haven't written a blog post for the last 6 months. But like for different reasons, because I was focusing on other stuff. So yeah, being super geeky, whatever, it's not a requirement at all. It's just like, we need to be passionate about what you're doing and be like genuine and authentic when you're talking to developers. And yeah, yeah, that's all I can say.
That's cool. Okay. So, Wasim, we are done. So, thanks for answering all those
You're welcome.
questions. They're really helpful. I think they will help me personally as well. So, next thing is anything you want to promote on our channel.
I mean, well, first of all, I mean, if some of the folks who were listening to the show, if they have questions, my DMs on Twitter are open. So please send
Yeah.
me your questions. You know, if you're a shy person, whatever, that's fine. I will really try to give you answers around that. So please go ahead. Um, I'm bad at promotion actually, but there is something. Yeah, there's the link. Like that's what actually I'm trying to focus on right now, like outside of work and everything, is to try to help some initiatives, around the planet, around the weather, around our ecosystem and all that stuff. So I created the profile a couple of weeks ago and probably a month ago to try help. I mean, help plant trees in
Mhm.
forests all over the world. So this is my profile on ecology. So they have the system where people can like fund your initiative. So if you like fund my profile, this would help plant more trees and even more. So please do so if you think that would be helpful. Yeah. Other than that, lately I have nothing to promote. I have no SoundCloud, wherever, as this say, yeah, just check my Twitter account. That's where I, share all my work stuff and even some personal stuff. But yeah, anything related to JavaScript, related to IoT, related to DIY, you know, even some food for thoughts sometimes. When I'm like nostalgic. So yeah, if you want to follow, please do so. Otherwise, you don't need to follow to send a DM. They're open. So please help yourself.
Oh, that's cool. So this is where you can follow Wasim. So this is the Twitter handle,
Yeah,
and you can see there's in the bottom there is a GitHub link as well. So you can go ahead and find all the links, including this ecology link, where you can just go ahead and fund the great initiative which is started by Wasim. So yeah,
cool. And
and
if you're watching this on Twitter or any other platform, please do follow this channel, the Santos channel. He is really sharing great topics with awesome people. So yeah, give him a subscribe, give him a thumbs up, and subscribe.
thanks a lot, thanks a lot, Wasim. Cool. Thanks a lot for joining, everyone. And on closing notes, I'll just let you know about next episode. So next episode, we are going to discuss about Next.js. I'm pretty much interested in learning Vue.js as well. So I figured out, okay,
Is it
Next.js.
next or next? Which one?
Next,
All
next,
right.
the previous one. Yeah, so we are going to have a great next chase community member on the episode. And in case you have any questions, you can also send me on Twitter and we can take those questions. Otherwise, just join us next Friday 10 p.m. IST and we'll discuss about the same. So we have two more episodes this year, and then we will go on a break, and
Mhm.
then in Jan we have few uh, new guests lined up. One of them is already here. So Anuradha is like our first guest for 2021. I have not officially actually announced it because I don't have anything ready. I
Spoiler.
have to spoiler, yeah. So I have to probably create banners and everything, and then we'll announce the guests for 2021. And thanks a lot again for joining, everyone, and thanks a lot,
Yeah.
Wasim, for your time.
Thank
So
you
it
for
was
inviting me. Really, genuinely, thank
that.
you.
Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye. Peace.